So happy to be joined by International Paralympic Committee President Andrew Parsons with the games a year away. Andrew, thanks so much for carving out some time for us. So let me just start with, how optimistic are you that a year from now we'll get to watch these amazing athletes and we'll be handing out gold medals?
Well, I'm positive about it. I think I'm encouraged by some sport events taking place and how they are handling the situation. We are learning from them. So like the UEFA Champions League, the NBA, some events, some football leagues, soccer leagues around the world, we're learning from them. So I'm encouraged. Of course, it depends a lot on the pandemic and how it evolves. But I think all the planning that we're doing with Tokyo 2020 organizing committee and together with the IOC, if the games go ahead next year, and of course it's a little bit unpredictable due to the pandemic, we'll have great years and great games in Tokyo next year.
Yeah, so how many assumptions do you have to make? Are you trying to avoid making any assumptions on what it will look like from a medical standpoint a year from now?
No, it's the other way around. We have to make all the assumptions possible. So we need to be prepared for every possible scenario. Not only when we talk about the games, but even in the qualification to the games. So we don't know if we'll have competitions restarting in December, in January, in March. So we have to have plans for all of that. And the same when it comes to the medical scenarios, different scenarios, how the pandemic will be in the world, in Japan itself, if there is a vaccine or not, or treatments, so that the COVID-19 is not as dangerous as it is now. So there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment, and we need to be prepared for every possible scenario. So as you have said, we have many different plans from different scenarios. So yeah, we need to extrapolate and keep thinking on different possibilities because we are learning from this virus every day.
So what would you say are maybe the one or the two logistical hurdles that you still have to figure out a way to overcome here?
Well, first of all, I think the village is a big challenge because in the Paralympics we have more than 6,000 people living in the village. So you have the dining hall where people, you have at least 1,000 people eating at the same time. So there is no social distancing possible in the way we currently deliver the dining hall of a Paralympic village, for example. In the Olympics, they have even more athletes living in the village at the same time. So I think this, for example, how the village will work is one of the main concerns that we have. And then how people will enter Japan. Because you have people entering Japan, in our case, is more than 180 countries. In the case of the Olympics, it's more than 200 nations coming and arriving in the same, in most probably 2 or 3 different airports. So how you control that, how you guarantee that these people are not bringing the COVID-19 into Japan, in the case that Japan is free of the coronavirus by then. So I think these two are the biggest ones. And of course, how we can provide a safe and healthy environment for the athletes. Some people refer to it as bubbles. How can we do that?
Yeah, it seems very challenging to figure out a way to do that. A lot of people have a lot of faith in you guys being able to do that. And that's just with the athletes. What about for fans? And if there's a chance that perhaps these games will have to be played without fans in the stands?
Yeah, we're not planning games without fans. This is something because it affects the whole, let's say, experience of what the Paralympic Games and the Olympic Games are. So we're not planning that at the moment. If there is a moment in the future that this is the only option, then we can maybe consider it. But we are not planning. We don't see Paralympic Games without spectators in the stands. So yes, the situation will have to be very different from what is today for us to be, the games to go ahead. It's something I keep saying. If the games were to start tomorrow, of course, under the current circumstances, the games cannot go ahead. So, but we believe that with 1 year, we have the best brains in the world researching and trying to find a vaccine or different treatments and, of course, different measures and trying to test things that we already do, like the use of masks and social distancing and the effect. So we believe that we still have some time, and we will have to make decisions. We know we have to make decisions next year. We don't have a date yet by which we'll say, look, this is the month, or on this day we will say yes or no. Of course, we will want to wait. If the likelihood is that we're going to cancel the games, we want to wait until the very last moment because everyone wants to have these games, and especially the athletes. They have trained their whole life. They deserve that we try as much as we can.
If you get to that point, is postponement, pushing the games further down the calendar, an option, or at that point would it just be cancellation of this summer games?
Well, the current position, and this was something that the Japanese government was really clear about, even before announcing the postponement, even when it was, even before setting the date, when the postponement was announced, they said, look, we are committed to organize these games in 2021. The summer of 2021 is the deadline. So at the moment, there is no conversation of no plans and no discussion to reschedule the games if they need to be postponed again. So at this moment in time is 21 or cancellation.
When you first take the job, this is not necessarily part of the job description, trying to navigate through a global pandemic. Just how difficult has this been for you and everyone that you work with over there?
Well, first of all, there is no manual. No one has faced that situation. I know the games have been canceled in the past due to the World War I and World War II, but they were never postponed. And to do that, and due to a pandemic, which of course is different from war, it's you need to control your level of anxiety. You need to understand that some things are just beyond your control, and then at the same time do what you have to do, which is plan, which is adopt all the countermeasures possible, and reduce the scope of the games is what we have been doing. So we need to focus on the things you can do, that you can control, and not waste time thinking on things that you just can't control or you have any influence on. So this is something we learned from the Paralympic athletes, actually. So I'm learning a lot from them and taking a lot of energy and resilience following their example.
Yeah. You signed a historic partnership with the IOC through 2032, I believe. How much are the two organizations here in lockstep in trying to figure this out together on how to pull off the games a year from now?
We have a very strong and very close relationship with the IOC. Since we signed this agreement in 2018, we always had, since 2001, we have, let's say, we have agreements in place with the IOC, but now I think we have the best relationship ever with them, closer, and these new agreements, 2018, 2032, since we signed that agreement, we are working on a daily basis with them, and of course they have their task force called Here We Go. We have people from our team in that task force, and of course they connect also with Tokyo 2020 and the levels of government in Japan. So we have, I can say we are working like one organization when it comes to this coronavirus. But not only us and the IOC, I would say it's the IOC, the IPC, and Tokyo Organizing Committee. We are working as one organization, because we have the same ambition, that it's deliver the games under these critical circumstances. And we all need to understand that flexibility is key here. If we are not flexible, all of us, we will not be able to deliver the games.
Let's talk real quick about the stars of the games here, the athletes themselves, and how are you working with them through this time? Because these athletes are coming from very different situations, perhaps countries that have handled the virus very well and countries where the virus is still percolating. How do you work with athletes in that environment?
We work with the athletes through their national Paralympic committees. So we try to support every different nation, and as you have mentioned, every different nation has dealt with the virus in a different way. And of course, the level of development of the nation, or even the level of sophistication of the National Paralympic Committee itself, it affects. So we are working with the athletes in terms of providing guidance, information, not only on the medical side, but also giving them assurance that their chance to qualify to Tokyo will not be harmed by this situation, that whatever qualification process that we will put in place, and this depends on when we will be able to host competitions again, everyone will have a fair chance to qualify to the games. Universality is a non-negotiable value of the Paralympic Games. So we are trying also to support the National Paralympic Committee, sometimes normally in the smaller nations, to interact with their own government to ask for support. We don't have the financial, let's say, capability to financially support all the 182 Paralympic committees that we have around the world, but this interaction and providing information, guidance, and leadership, and also at the same time liaising with their government, is the way we are doing with them, and trying to make them interact. Some nations, as you have mentioned, are already back to training. Athletes are already training, some not. So how can they support each other with our coordination in sharing protocols? For example, like, in some countries they're already back to training. Even here in Brazil, where I live, the Brazilian team is already back and training in their training center. Even probably Brazil and US being the country that in this very moment at the epicenter of the pandemic in the world. So how can you protect your athletes in a situation like with the one we're facing in this country? I think it's this kind of information, or sharing information and providing some assurances to the athletes is the way of giving them the, let's say, the state of mind that they need to face the situation, because it is a terrible situation. The games have been postponed. They don't know if the games are actually going ahead next year, but they have to keep on training to qualify and then to compete at the games. These guys are really tough, and that's why I admire them.
Yeah, I think that's such a super important point. You're trying to take a lot of stuff off their plate. You can't do it totally, because the athletes have so much to worry about on their own. I do want to talk about you got the IPC Athletes Council gathering a panel to discuss protests at the game. Yeah. That's not something that's currently permitted on the podium or on the field of play. What are you hoping to gain from the discussion there?
Well, we're hoping to have the athletes' view on this situation, because the rule that we currently have says that there is no, you can, protest, you can't do anything at the podium to send any political message, and so. But of course, the movement of the Black Lives Matter is not only about not being racist; it's about being anti-racing. Is something that resonated really strong around the world, and made us think maybe we should revisit the rule. Maybe we should, allow athletes to have their voice, their opinion, or their positions in these different moments during the Paralympic Games. But first of all, we need to understand their opinion. So this consultation process is led by our Athletes Council, and it's a global exercise, so athletes from all around the world, and we will have, let's say, their opinion as an athlete community on how they see the situation. Because of course, if you have someone protesting in the podium and you're in the podium, it affects you as well, even though you're not part of the process. He or she is not protesting against you, but how athletes understand and they see. So as soon as we have their opinion on that, we will act accordingly. So if we need to revisit the rule, change the rule, discuss the rule, bring to our membership to vote on. But we believe that as an athlete-centered organization, we need the input from the athletes first.
Sure. Athletes have a big platform, no bigger, though, than when the games are going on, the Paralympic Games, hopefully a year from now. Although there are other avenues of getting your message out there. I do know that in just a couple of days here, very soon, a Netflix movie is coming out. It is called Rising Phoenix. What can you tell me about that project and what the message is to that movie?
Well, it's a movie that we are super proud of. We are associated with some producers, high-level producers in the UK. So it's of the highest level in terms of a film, in terms of the aesthetic of the film, and the way it was produced. It's a 2.5 year project, and the first idea came from a gentleman called Greg Nugent, who was the director of marketing communication at the London 2012 organizing committee, and he got in love with the Paralympic movement, and he came with that idea. And when he presented the idea of a documentary profiling Paralympic athletes, telling a bit of the story, and this drama that we have faced, remember we had London, amazing games, and then we had Rio, and Brazil was a very important Paralympic country, so the expectations were high, the economy in Brazil was on the rise, and then, there was that threat of not even having the Paralympic Games due to the financial crisis of the organizing committee. So this drama and the combination with the athlete profiling, a little bit of a history of Paralympic movement, is a great film. It's a great movie. I have seen it a few times. The soundtrack is just amazing. It's a rap, it's a hip hop delivered by 3 artists with disability, and the lyrics are so powerful. And as they have disability, it really gives you goosebumps when you listen to the song. It gives you goosebumps because the delivery is fantastic. As you can see, I'm really excited about the project, and I hope everyone, can watch the movie and they will understand what the Paralympic movement is about.
Rave reviews from people that I know that have seen it, or at least seen a glimpse of it so far. So you're going to have to be used to being called IPC president and movie star, perhaps, in the future.
No, the movie stars are the athletes. I prefer, okay. even though I am a little bit on the video, but I prefer to work around behind the scenes. But some of these athletes are movie stars.
Absolutely. Andrew, let's look into the future just a little bit here. And I know that's super difficult even to look into the future a week from now, let alone 6 months from now. But 6 months after the Paralympic Games in Tokyo, we're talking about winter games and trying to get ready for that. Such a condensed window. What are your thoughts on trying to go through that process?
Well, we are seeing, of course, challenges and opportunities. The challenge is because we have our team at is the same department, let's say, the same group of people that is involved in both projects. So yes, it will be after delivering Tokyo in the conditions that we're going to deliver Tokyo 6 months later to deliver Paralympic Winter Games. It's a lot, but at the same time, we never had Paralympic Games with a transition, let's say, of only 6 months. So it gives us also opportunities when it comes to communication, when it comes to campaign, when it comes to promoting the Paralympic movement. So we are seeing, of course, the challenges, but also the opportunities that it brings. The Chinese, they have a lot of experience in delivering the games. They have delivered fantastic Paralympic Games in 2008 in the summer, and they are very advanced in their plans, not in the plans, in their preparations for the 2022 Paralympic Winter Games. So we are confident that the pandemic will not affect the delivery of those games, even though our team may be a little bit burned out. But I think it's the excitement of having delivered the Tokyo Games, because the games will mean something different. It will not be a standard or regular edition of the games. It will mean that we have put the pandemic behind. We have faced a common enemy, let's say, as mankind, as humanity, and we have won. So I think the games could be a symbol of a new understanding of our role in this planet. Maybe I'm a bit optimistic here, but I do believe that the new world will have to be, I'd say, we'll have to live by values that we're not living at this moment. And I hope that the Paralympic Games could be a symbol of that.
I think that's a super optimistic thought, and we're all hoping the same thing. International Paralympic Committee President Andrew Parsons, thank you so much for talking to us about all these issues. And hopefully we see all the athletes, the stars of the games, competing a year from now.
Thank you very much.